Leveling is one of the most important parts of any RPG. Increasing your character's attributes through doing quests as well as learning new skills is integral to the role playing experience. With Classic WoW coming out, I've been shocked at how different this experience is to modern WoW. So I'm going to talk about it. In this video, I will discuss things I think both versions of the game do very well and things they could do better. Here we go, let's start off with the enemies, with Classic WoW. Now, in Classic, enemies are a threat. Pulling more than one knoll is a death sentence, and I was excited and terrified each time I saw a pack of enemies. You have to think about it, the world is actually scary, and it makes grouping up invaluable. In modern WoW, you can just kind of, tag a mob and whatever, who cares? You don't have to group up because the enemies are just so easy. Classic, that's not the case. There have been many times where I've made friends just in the initial week of leveling in Classic WoW, just by having someone else be in the same area, grouping up and killing a few gnolls together. Now, in BFA, chain pulling mobs is very, very easy while leveling. Enemies are zero threat unless you manage to pull like 15 of them. You can pull up to like 10, 15, 20 enemies at a time, and not have to worry about anything. In Classic, you have to like plan out your route, like, okay, I'm going to take out this enemy here, this enemy there, boom, done. BFA, you just pull whatever, and that's it. You don't have to worry about a thing. So, all in all, I prefer the Classic leveling experience when it comes to enemies. I like having enemies be a threat, I like being scared, I like having to group up and make friends in the open world. I like that it forces me to do that. Since there's no reason to group up, like in modern WoW, because everything is so easy. Now, going into town. If you only play retail, you might be surprised at this one, because in retail, you don't go into town at all, ever. You go into town when, like, you're done leveling. That's it. Or to get new quests. That is it. Classic, resource management is extremely important. I constantly felt the need to go into town to resupply on food, water. I know friends that are playing hunters that need more arrows and stuff. I looked forward to going into town to like just work on professions. That was really fun for me. So, in conclusion, with going into town, you don't really do it in modern, but Classic, it's a fun, useful, enjoyable experience. Now, classes. This might be where it gets a little decisive with Classic WoW fans. In Classic, I think that the class quests are unique and fun and bring a lot of flavor into the class. I love the Warlock class quests. In Modern WoW, I hit level 20, I get a succubus. Just nowhere, I can summon her. In Classic, I have to go to my trainer in Stormwind, go into like this secret underground like cult building in the middle of like this happy mage district, and that's cool. Like I feel like a warlock. Then my class trainer tells me to go to the Barrens, a place where I'm an alliance. Going to the Barrens, that's crazy. I mean, people of the other opposite faction there, enemies, potential enemies. When I arrived at Ratchet, I was followed by people. People were just curious, like, what's this warlock doing here? What's this alliance human think he's doing here? And that's just a cool experience. I had to go up into Ashenvale, another place I've never been before, and then get bark off of a tree that spawned over the corpses of two dead lovers or something. Then bring that back to my warlock trainer, give it to him, and then use that to summon the succubus, defeat her in battle, and then she's mine. Compared to modern WoW, where you just get her. Speaking of the class trainers and the class experience, going to trainers is a fun experience. I love just going in and seeing, after a new level, what I can buy, or even just planning it out. I think it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of like utility abilities that like I'm excited to get. Ranking up abilities is fun. I like it. Buffing others is also fun too. And when I say that, I know that's coming from the position of a warlock, right? And as a warlock, all I really do is give people underwater breathing, which I did, by the way. If you gave me a buff, if you gave me intellect, if you gave me fortitude, your ass just got underwater breathing. You're welcome. Now, up next with the class discussion is something that surprised me. I like the old talent trees. Now, it's not necessarily because of what is in the talent trees, because it's kind of boring to be like, oh wow, I just got 3% more mana on my succubus, whoopee, who cares? Or 1% parry on my sword. Like, that itself is boring. I don't care, right? but I like getting a point to put into something every level. It makes leveling up just always enjoyable. Even if you don't get like a new ability, you still get a talent point, and then you work towards the thing that actually matters. Compared to BFA, right, where I actually vastly prefer at endgame the BFA talent tree. Every row it feels like there's a choice that matters. Every row it can like change up your playstyle. Classic isn't really like that with its talent trees, but they're every 15 levels. And since they're every 15 levels, it makes that enjoyment of getting a new talent few and far between. Now, for the gameplay side, classes in Classic are very slow. You have a lot of tools to use at your disposal, but you don't usually have to use any of them. Leveling up as a Warlock, I just put my dots on someone, sent in my pet, and wanted them. Sometimes I would fear an enemy or use a health stone or whatever, but that was basically it. Like, I would never use Shadow Bolt or anything. Sometimes I'd use Searing Pain if I need a fast ability to cast. But that's it. A lot of tools, very slow, very, in my opinion, boring gameplay. I already brought up the talent trees, but let's talk about like the leveling specifically. There is such a huge gap between getting abilities in Modern WoW, I mean. It's like you can go 10, 15 levels without getting anything. And when you do get something, it's like you got Flare on your Hunter. Cool, Flare. What do I get next? Raptor Strike rank 2 and 15 levels? Awesome. That's fun. That's engaging, right? No, it's not. It sucks. I hate it. It makes leveling feel pointless because you're not really leveling to get new skills because there are so many just dead levels in between the levels where you do get skills. At least in Classic, you're getting a talent point every level. Modern, you're getting usually nothing for leveling up. But on the flip side, I really like the class gameplay of Modern WoW a lot more than Classic. I was playing Survival Hunter, and I had to admit, it was fun to be jumping all around, harpooning the enemies, planting my wildfire bomb so it spread out in the right direction. Like, I thought that was kind of fun. It was a lot more fun than just wanding an enemy in Classic. Now, Classic does have, like, the enemy placement mattering and the enemies actually mattering, but it's still, in my opinion, boring class gameplay mixed with an exciting system. Another thing I want to mention for classes to close things off, there are no class quests while leveling in BFA, and I think that is a huge missed opportunity. Legion actually did this. They had class quests while leveling, and that was by far my favorite feature, aside from the Mage Tower, but, you know, leveling video. In BFA, there's nothing really that makes you that unique aside from what few different abilities you have. Like, I've been leveling as a Warlock in Classic, right? And my friend has been leveling as a Paladin, and it was very cool to, like, see how different our quests were. I had a quest to poison a noble that was, like, trying to shut down the Warlock hideout, where my friend, the Paladin, had a quest to go heal the sick. That kind of difference makes you feel like you're a class. You feel like you're doing what a Warlock would do. You feel like you're doing what a Paladin would do. And that is great for roleplay value. And this is a role-playing game. So of course I'm going to love class quests, and I miss them when they're gone. I don't know why they took out class quests. I feel like if they wanted to leave it to where you got your abilities every time you leveled up, without having to visit the class trainer, they should have kept a few abilities in that you had to do quests for. Like, just for that extra bit of flavor. I mean, some would call it an inconvenience, but I don't think that's the case. I thought that they were really fun doing the class quests, and I missed them in modern leveling. Now, we're going to jump off from class quests to talking about questing as a whole. Questing in Classic is very grindy, very slow, the drop rates are horrible. And I'm going to be honest, aside from a few standout quests, didn't enjoy the questing experience in Classic very much. It felt a little tacked on. Didn't feel fully fleshed out, didn't feel finished. And the quest placement is so random. Like, I found a dwarf who wanted hops for beer. Where was he stationed? In a tent in the middle of like level 17 and 18 enemies. What was he doing there? Why was he there? Why did he want beer? He should be leaving the bandits. Why is he chilling by the bandits? Doesn't make sense, dwarf, leave! But some of the quests that I did, I got to like level 30 in Classic, felt wonderful. Favorite zone in Classic by far has been Duskwood. I love Duskwood. The quests are dark, they have interesting stories. They feel smartly laid out, like Duskwood is a fantastic zone. But as a whole, the quests do not value your time. And that may be a negative for some people, and it may be a positive for others. Because while they do not value your time, they value having you explore the world, go to new places, go do new things. And I'll be giving an example of that later. BFA. The questing is a lot smarter. Quests you get here are done here. You have hubs, nice little hubs for quests. You get them all, they usually have a satisfying story, they're faster paced, but it's convenience over exploration. There are no long, epic quest chains in leveling in BFA, which some people might prefer because it's a faster experience, and they keep it kind of, localized to a zone. But in Classic, there was something just a little bit magical about being sent to collect iron halfway across the world to make a book. I don't know if that's just nostalgia right now, or if I'm just amazed by it now, but I'll hate it later. But let me talk about Morbent Fell. This was a quest in Duskwood to kill a necromancer. Now, here is what you do in both of those quests. Alright, so here's what you have to do in Classic for the Morbent Fell quest line. Now, I will be using MS Paint to help illustrate. It starts out about right there, right in Duskwood. Maybe a little higher, like right there-ish. And you gotta get a magical item to kill the necromancer. And you hear there's one in Stormwind, so you travel to Stormwind, which is right here. And they say, we don't have the material for it. So you need to travel to the wetlands, which is about right here. Now, the easiest way to get to the wetlands, if you don't have a flight point, is to take the train to Ironforge, which is about right here. Then you have to run through Dunmoreau, into Loch Modan, go through the swamp, right there. Now, you're not done yet. Next, what you have to do is get the ore, which you go off the shore, you kill some murlocs, and bada bing, bada boom, right? Gone. Then, at this point, you have the flight path or Hearthstone, so you just, once you get that, you go back there, Hearthstone or fly all the way back to Stormwind. You give the man what he needs to make the idol, then you head all the way back down to Duskwood. Now, usually you take a flight path for that, right? So you gotta take a flight path all the way over here, where the town is, then run along the road, all the way back, right there. Right there. And then, and only then, can you kill the boss. Alright, so for Cataclysm, the quest is a little different in that you start about right here in Duskwood. Now in Duskwood, you're about, let me make sure I got the right paint stuff on. No, that don't work. Okay. So about right here, Raven Hill, the guy tells you to go get the idol. And he says it's in a crypt. So you go into the crypt, right? And now you're underground and you find the idol. But you notice a secret passageway. So what you do is you keep going further and further into the crypt until you find him, and then you kill him. So a pretty big difference. Some people are going to prefer going to the crypt and then just doing the quest in the crypt. Others were going to prefer the more epic experience of traveling across the land, getting iron from a dwarf in the wetlands, taking the train back, using that to fight the necromancer. Some people are going to have differences here. Personally, I don't know. I liked that epic feeling quest. I like traveling the world. But I don't want every quest like that. I feel like Classic could use a few quests, like the Morbent Fell quest, where you just travel the world to new places to get new things and explore. Now, I think those quests should have bumped up XP to make up for that, because no one's going to do them if it's just a longer quest for the same reward, right? So, I think, despite me not liking the majority of Classic WoW quests, modern WoW can still take a few pointers from them. The world. There are players everywhere in Classic WoW, and you meet them. Now I'm going to tell you two stories. One, I was traveling through to the wetlands, and I saw this little gnome warrior, this bald gnome warrior called Pull My Hair, and he was struggling with some gnolls. So I help him out, and I trade him a Healthstone, And I'm like, and he invites me to a group, and I'm like, sorry, I'm just passing through here. Don't worry about me. Like, sorry, I'm not here to help you quest. Just, I gotta go. But I wish you luck. Here's the health stone. Here's underwater breathing, because I know gnome lungs aren't really the best. And I left. The very next day, I joined a group for the dead mines, and we needed a tank. And who joins the tank but a bald gnome warrior called Pull My Hair? And we remembered each other. It was great. I like, this is the guy I helped save the gnolls, and now he's gonna save me from a shitty group. And you know what? Pull My Hair was a fantastic tank. He knew what he was doing, Pull My Hair did. I saved him so he could save me. My other story, though, that one isn't as upbeat. I was waiting for an enemy to spawn in front of the blacksmith in Moonbrook, and that's when I get approached. Now, a little bit of backstory. This was early days, like super early days, like day 2. I was selling a lot of wands on the auction house because everyone needed wands. They were in high demand, and I could sell them for like 15 silver, which was a lot of money for my level. Now, I was approached by a dwarf and his friend, a human warrior, with a big old 2-handed mace. And the dwarf says, "You, I know you. You're the son of a bitch that's been undercutting me at wands." And his human friend in the background pulls out his big mace, and he just stands there menacingly. I look at this dwarf, and I'm like, a guy's gotta make a living somehow. And the dwarf goes, "You watch yourself out there, buddy," and leaves. I was threatened in the open world by a rival wand merchant. That never happens in modern WoW. You don't deal with other people like this. This guy just randomly found me out in the world. He knew my name from the auction house, and he threatened me with his friend. That was a fantastic experience I will probably remember for a long, long time. With Modern WoW, you never run into the same person twice. I can't remember the last time I had that happen in Modern WoW. And that's a shame. Because it takes away the opportunity to have stories like this. Outside of players, what does the world have that's different? With Classic, there are usually a lot of chests in a lot of places, and they're worth getting. They have valuable materials, or weapons, or armor, and it was a joy every time I found a chest and opened it up. I loved that experience. Modern WoW, when was the last time you saw a chest and you thought, "Ooh boy, a chest! Hope it has some greens in there." Right? Like, when was the last time you thought that? Come on. Also, it was just fun to explore because of that sense of reward. You usually got something that mattered when you explored in Classic WoW. BFA, you are on a rigid path, and there's no good reason to leave that rigid path. And again, some people may prefer that. I personally, not really. I like being able to explore and kind of roam around and get rewarded for doing so. Now here's something I'm in a mixed mind about. The level scaling. I like the level scaling in BFA. I like how I can finish a zone, do all of its quests, without feeling pressured to move on. I think that's a nice feature. But at the same time, I have to admit, it takes away a sense of danger. Because in Classic WoW, when you see an enemy that's like 3 levels ahead, you know it's going to be a tough fight. BFA, everyone's at your level. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying I want the level scaling gone, because I really like level scaling. But maybe tweaked a little bit so that there are still those higher level enemies that you have to beat. I don't know how they would do that with keeping the scaling. Because in Classic WoW, when you saw that higher level enemy, he would kick your ass. But you could level up and come back, then you could kick his ass. How would that work with scaling? I don't know. But I think it's worth having a discussion on. Professions, I mentioned them briefly earlier. I like them in Classic. Mostly because, when I was leveling them up, I was making gear and items that I could actually use. I could make a blue pair of boots as a tailor. That was insane! A blue pair of boots? Are you kidding me? It felt nice. Having a profession and having it be useful. BFA, you don't care about them until endgame. Maybe you care about them a little bit when you're leveling up in the new expansion zone, but there is zero reason to level up to that point, unless you like cosmetics. Conclusion. It's really tough to say which leveling experience I prefer more. For Classic, I love its systems, I love the world, I love going into town, I love the class quests, I love caring about my professions, I love meeting and re-meeting the same people and having stories to tell. But the quests suck. It's boring, it's grindy, it gets old very fast. If it wasn't for the danger of enemies, I probably would just fall asleep. Retail, on the other hand, has no RPG feeling at all while leveling. You're barely rewarded at all for leveling, and it sucks. It feels like leveling in retail and in BFA is just there out of tradition. But the class gameplay is a lot of fun. I had a blast playing my survival hunter. Still, outside of class gameplay and better designed but less epic feeling quests, Classic I think has it beaten leveling. Now, I want a game with the systems of classic leveling, the RPG feeling, the world, the people, with the gameplay of BFA, or more preferably, Legion classes. Both have their own strengths and weaknesses. If you want to blast through a zone, and go to the next zone, and go to the next zone, chain pulling mobs, and like the faster paced experience, BFA leveling is probably for you. On the other hand, if you want a living world, if you want RPG elements in your game, if you want to worry about resources, money, and each individual enemy, and you don't mind the slower gameplay or grindy long quests, I'd recommend Classic in a heartbeat. I just hope Blizzard takes the best parts of Classic leveling and puts them into modern WoW, because I think that would be an absolutely fantastic experience. And with that, I'm gonna leave you. If you like this video, please, hit that like button, subscribe. I'm doing a lot of WoW content, a lot of Fire Emblem content, 2 series I love. Maybe I'll start streaming on Twitch again. Who knows? I like streaming on Twitch. It's fun. And with that, I will see you guys later. Tong out. Why did I just dab? Fuck my life.